Good evening, BHB family. This is Coach Coop here with another episode of BHB Radio. Tonight I am joined by my very good friend for a very special episode of BHB Radio. Her name is Jordyn Stoneberg. We are actually taking a new direction with tonight's episode, and instead of interviewing a traditional expert in the space, scientist, doctor, researcher, pro athlete, you name it, we are actually going to interview one of you guys. That's right. We are going straight to the trenches to find out how real people are getting real results and find out what works. Jordyn is going to actually dive into her own journey and what worked for her when she lost a whopping 50 pounds and got some serious anxiety relief. We're going to get into the specifics, including her diet, how she had to fat adapt her metabolism, aka gain metabolic flexibility, supplements she used, including exogenous ketones, and how transformative those were for her experience to help her thrive during that adaptation phase, and a whole lot more. There's a ton of practical lifestyle and nutrition tips jammed into this episode, and I think it's always helpful for people to hear how others, just like themselves, can do it, right? So without further ado, my guest tonight, Jordyn Stoneberg. Good evening, everyone. This is Coach Matt, and you are listening to Better Health and Body Radio, your source for the latest and greatest information and understanding in the world of health, nutrition, and performance, where we give you a seat at the table next to the best and the brightest minds to arm you with the information you need to optimize yourself. Join us for another exciting, thought-provoking episode of BHB Radio, starting now. Jordyn, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Sure thing. Pleasure's all mine.
Oh, yeah. So, most people I'm expecting are not going to know you at home, right? But at the same time, I wanted to have just bring a new dimension to the show. You know, we've had on some scientific experts on here. We've had on some fitness experts. We've had on professional athletes. We've had on quite a number of folks, but I think it's also helpful for people listening to be able to hear what it's like from their side of the table. You know what I'm saying? Like, be able to hear an example of someone who is able to turn their health and thus their life around. So that's why I wanted to have you on. For people listening who again probably don't know you, do you mind telling your story a little bit? You know, where you were at before you kind of went through this health transformation and how you got there?
Sure. So I think the case is a lot of people think they don't know me, but they do. So it's if you interact with real ketones, you probably interacted with me, but it's like on the low, right? So in 2017 was kind of when this all started. So it's back in my day, right? So it's been a minute. But I started researching ketones after I just made a move to Florida. And because I was just trying to get my life on track. I just graduated college. I was, just fresh off the block, like ready to go. And I, being in college, you don't exactly. Health isn't always your top priority. At least it wasn't mine. So maybe I shouldn't speak for everybody, but definitely was not my top priority. And the stress of the move and being out of college and not knowing what to do, because at that time, getting a job straight out of college was pretty rough. So, it led to, again, my some pretty negative health impacts. So I started researching ketones, and the rest is history. I mean, it was kind of crazy, and just stop me if I'm talking too much, but I moved down to Florida, like I said, in 2017, started researching ketones, was also actively looking for a job at the time. And it was just so weird. It was like one of those things that it was like, I don't want to say, okay, again, like destiny is so cheesy, right? But I had just been getting into learning about keto, and I saw an open job position with real ketones. So I had started my transition all at the same time, right? So there was a lot going on. And, I was and again, like I said, Matt, just stop me if if you need to. But it's I transitioning to keto was the best thing I ever did, but also a pretty challenging thing for somebody who'd never been focused on their health before. So and that's kind of where real ketones came in. I became educated. Um, I started supplementing with our ketones, which really got me past. I mean, I was experiencing pretty severe side effects from the metabolic shift just because I just wasn't prepared. I wasn't, I didn't know anything about electrolytes, and I didn't know anything about um, how to support my system during this shift. So I was experiencing pretty severe insomnia and fatigue, um, and then kind of all the same time, real ketones came into the picture, and kind of once I saw for myself that it worked, I knew this is where I had to be. Um, so for I think the first 3 months, first 3 months, I actually after getting like acclimated, I was working out probably about 4 or 5 times a day, or 4 or 5 times a day. Oh my goodness, we
Oh
are
damn.
going hard.
I was gonna
Four or
say,
five.
no wonder you were fatigued.
Right, exactly. That was once I was transitioning, I started working out 4 or 5 times a week, and supplementing with ketones. I was eating the keto diet, and lost about 50 pounds in about
Damn.
about 90 days. So it was
Holy
pretty
sh-
quick. Yeah,
right.
pretty
That is
quick. But
wild.
it goes to show, like, when you put your mind to something and you really want to do it, you can. And though, I mean, real ketones was truly, I mean, just like the savior, right? At the right time. So
So
and sorry, go ahead, Matt.
no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So just so people are following at home, because I think we sort of started down the adjustment period before they knew what Jordyn was talking about, what you were talking about.
Sure.
You you were making a drastic shift in the way that you ate, which included eating kind of more of an ancestral, we'll call it like keto-esque um,
Hmm.
diet. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then during that time, you came across real ketones as a way that you might be able to turn this sort of health adventure that you were on into a profession, right? Or turn passion into profession. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it
Once
was
I
kind of
saw, oh, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
oh, the one last thing I was going to say is, so it sounds like you guys kind of like came into each other's lives sort of the exact right time, you know?
Right when we needed each other, so but yeah, no, it's, I mean, again, I mean, it uh, it just, yeah, it was just such a pivotal moment for me, and for real ketones really, I mean, was there for me in every way it could be. And now I'm able to help other people, because I mean, again, for those who don't know, I run customer service, and all basically of um any interaction you have with real ketones I've touched. So um and I've really worked on, what would I have needed coming into this, knowing where
Mm,
I was, right, and knowing, and that's really the difference. You're we're providing tools from people who have experienced this and are educated, and not that, again, not that I'm a genius, but I've been there, firsthand experience.
sure,
And
of
then we have
course.
support staff, like, again, like you guys. But
Gary.
yeah, right, exactly. So we have yeah, just the smartest brains in the, I say in the world. I'm so dramatic, but just some of the most capable minds paired with real life experience, and it's
Mm,
just been like the most amazing combination for us. And it's allowed me to really craft the perfect experience for anybody who really is making the change
yeah.
for their health. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's awesome. Number one, you've been able to turn passion into profession and really align with your purpose and helping other people the way that you were helped. I always think that that's a really awesome, fun, like very intentful, purposeful kind of thing. Um,
mhm.
I think as well, like, although, for everyone listening, Gary Mill, you guys have heard on the show before, right? He's a scientist, a researcher. While it's great to have people like him and I involved, it's also, there can be a bit of an effect sometimes to where if we're talking about something that's like 9 or 10 item, it can sound a little high level, or
Mhm.
I don't want to say ivory tower-esque because that sounds kind of bougie, but it's you know what I'm saying, right? It's nice to have
Yes.
someone at ground level who has, a little more recently gone through some of the same transformations people at home are looking to make,
Mhm.
and and thus can kind of, you can put yourself exactly in their shoes, even more so. In addition to
Yeah.
that too, I also think it's awesome that you were able to find that, to loop back to the health side of things for a second. What Jordyn was talking about is, for those of you who don't know, is the adaptation process when you do fix your metabolism to get, as they kind of mistakenly call it, keto adapted. It's how it's known in the space, or even fat adapted, but it's basically, fat adaptation is a good term. Metabolic flexibility is kind of what we prefer. But when you're
Mhm.
sort of balancing out fuel systems like that, it can kind of be a little bit of a rough on ramp there for about a week or two, or longer, depending on the person. But so you were able to kind of, obviously, you're supplementing with ketones to help bounce back from that. I think that's really important. Electrolytes, things like that. Usually people want to watch their training and keep it a little bit lower in volume. But you said you lost about 50 pounds in just 90 days, 3 months.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. But also mm, I hate to call it a routine, but my practices beforehand were very poor.
Mm.
So I just think it was the shock to my system and the dedication, and just really um, showing my body how it's supposed to perform. Um, it really just made all the difference. But yeah, no, I think too. I think with the diet and the lifestyle. I mean, it is a metabolic shift. So it's and again, not that I need to explain that to you, but I just think people, don't understand that it is, it's not just you're not just cutting. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It's not just like I'm going to watch my calories.
Right.
It's a little bit different. So it can definitely stress your body out to do it solo. You can do it solo, naturally, I mean, just on your own. Your body will create ketones, but having the supplement made just such the difference for me. I was going through, I mean, probably the worst bout of insomnia I've ever had.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. That's a big time side effect of that.
yeah, and and again, it's just your body has all of this fat to use for fuel.
Hmm.
And again, not that I need to explain it to you, but I just think it kind of like super surges you. I don't know like the correct term, but I was awake, but just all at the wrong times. So,
Right.
um, but introducing ketones allowed me. I mean, I was so dehydrated, and of course, I mean, my salt consumption was not how it should have been.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's huge.
yeah, it just and I was, and then I was trying to incorporate working out, and that was failing, and just being able to, I mean, real ketones just has made such a difference in my life. And I know that means might sound goofy coming from me, but it's the reason that I'm here. Not I'm living. The reason I'm here with real ketones. Like
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
reason for my life. No, but it's I truly believe in what we do here.
Hmm.
And it's really cool to know that we have people here that have, it's true. And I'm not trying to pitch anything, but it's true science, and I've seen it for myself. I've experienced it for myself, and we just have some of the brightest minds working on this stuff, and it's been truly an incredible journey. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's fair to say, right? Because like Rob and Gary, the you're the face that runs the place. They're the they're the the co-founders of the whole program. It's not just, a new, like some places that are just like a nutritional supplement outlet of sorts, right? Or a nutritional, um, like a place that spits out diet macros or something like that. Like there's a whole educational database that's ever growing behind it, right? To try to really help kind of push health and nutrition science forward. They actually are involved in, and this whole sort of organization has been involved with advancing nutritional research and nutrition science, right? And in fact, that's that's one way we kind of have these additional insights and breakthroughs that we can then pass on to everybody to try to help their lives. And I think there's another thing that's interesting here, and that's that you and I kind of found ourselves where we're at in a very similar kind of way, right? Like
Mhm.
through your own authentic journey and transformation, you just naturally found your way here because you wanted to get involved. And I was sort of the same way, right? Like I basically first came across real ketones because I was a health practitioner of sorts, right? I am a nutrition consultant, strength and conditioning coach, and rehab specialist. And I was at a conference, and a good friend of mine, Chris Albert, uh, who's basically kind of like a health and lifestyle. I don't know if he would like the word expert, but as it relates to veterans health, is sort of mainly his thing. But anyways, he came up to me and he told me like, hey, I think these guys like something here. It might be the most innovative company in technology here. I really think you should give this a try and go talk to them. So lo and behold, learn more about their sort of ethos, tried some of their offerings product wise, and then it was blown away. Started, recommending it to my clients again, just in an authentic, kind of way, on my own.
Mhm.
Kept in touch with them, and then later on, I actually wound up coaching Rob on the health, nutrition, and kind of training side of things, doing some like functional lab work, running some functional labs for him, and then just wanted to get involved at a higher level myself. And I always think that's the best way relationships, whether it's like your romantic relationship or a business relationship or whatever starts is, or a partnership is like, it just naturally evolves. You guys, start as friends, and it just, kind of comes about from there. So I think there's something to be said about that. And your journey really resonates with mine. And I think just to give everybody at home a little bit of extra, take home goodies and things like that they can extract from this. So if you are in that adaptation period, like Jordyn's talking about, where you're shifting your body from running on predominantly, Franken foods, generally higher carbohydrate, or what we call high calorie malnutrition. There's a lot of things that can happen. You're maybe eating a lot of vegetable or industrial seed oils, which most people are. Um, you can kind of impair your thyroid, you can impair your energy in the body, and you can impair your body's ability to burn its own fat, right? So
Mhm.
when a lot of times what people will do is they'll go on like a high saturated fat keto diet, to like flush out a lot of the polyunsaturated fatty acids from the cells, help or the stored vegetable seed oils, how they're sort of stored in the body, if you will, flush
Mhm.
out those things, start burning fat, and so on and so forth. But that initial period where you're making that transition, there's almost kind of a detox that occurs. And so your best defense against that is to stay well hydrated, as Jordyn, as you just said. Adding natural salts to the water that you're drinking is a good call. Supplementing with electrolytes is a good call. Making sure that you are getting enough vitamin D and K is a good call. And then, of course, supplementing with exogenous ketones can definitely help ease the stress of that transition and make you feel just really good as you're going through it.
Mhm.
Um, Going low on training can help too. So that way, everybody at home kind of knows
Sure.
exactly what it's like if they're going to go through it themselves, possibly now that they've heard your journey. And now,
Absolutely.
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say even for those who aren't, going, looking to do full on keto, your body, even when you are saying you're just cutting carbs, period, or you're trying to reduce your calorie intake and that's the way you choose a diet, kudos, everything works differently for different people. But people still experience, you know, fatigue and being cranky and being hungry. Um, and a supplement like again, like a real ketones or even all these things still apply to any type of lifestyle change to make it sustainable long term, right? So it's it's really looking at it that way and looking at it as I'm doing this for my health, not for a it can be so much more than that 5 or 10 pounds you want to lose.
Yeah.
Which great. I mean, everybody can probably lose 5 or 10 pounds, whatever. But if you're looking at it as I'm doing this to keep it off and to be healthier, all this stuff can apply. And it's just so helpful.
Oh
Um,
yeah, absolutely. And like you said too, like that's the other really cool thing is like a lot of these other companies are sort of like and organizations and gurus and experts, quote unquote scientists, they're kind of a little bit majoring in the minors or missing the forest because they're looking at the trees in my estimation. And then that
mhm,
doesn't mean they're not directionally accurate and doing some very good work. Obviously, you know, all of us, real ketones, everybody's just ever evolving in their understanding of things. But
mhm,
what I really appreciated about, coming across real ketones is that they're not pushing the strict keto diet on everyone. In fact, they don't. That's not their ethos. They believe in fixing your metabolism so you can better oxidize, carbs and fat. They believe in you being able to do strict keto maybe for certain populations, metabolic therapies, or for people who just do well with that. Um, Obviously, simple things like eating more nutritious foods, like eliminating pro-inflammatory, energy-stealing foods, so on and so forth. But that was another thing too, is like they are just in pursuit of whatever best practice is,
mhm.
and or they're not trying to fit everyone into one box. And I think that's why they've kind of continued to have breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. Which, on that note, I did want to bring up some of the emergent research has shown that you know there is something to this type of nutritional lifestyle and also exogenous ketones with regards to reducing anxiety. Now,
Mhm.
privately, you and I have talked about how part of your journey was not just the physical, like the weight loss, right? It was also, I mean, anxiety is physical too, but it was achieving a great reduction in stress, right? And anxiety
Mhm.
relief. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that and unpack that?
Sure. So, I mean, being more regimented period and having a grip on your health period, is gonna de-stress you, right? But um, truly, it's just it's. I was, for lack of better words, I was a train wreck, right? So coming, like I said, steamrolling right out of college, and trying to get my life together. I was, I just made that move, um, from Detroit to Tampa, so it was quite a big shift. Just starting over fresh, and while that's exciting, while you're trying to get through stuff, and it was extremely stressful. So getting on with supplementation, and specifically, again, I was taking Lean for Life, so I was taking our supplement that has MCT in it, and I think that had um, a huge impact on me, in how I was feeling mentally. I mean, of course, ketones themselves, BHB, is you know is amazing, but I'm saying that the MCT in it for me, I think just really helped with my brain health. I mean, I felt like I was able to think more clearly, because imagine trying to see like in a foggy room, and it can just be so frustrating when you're just trying to get to the other side. Um, Whereas, if that smoke clears, it's a lot easier to find the exit door. Which for maybe that's not a great analogy, but in my head, I'm like, or a metaphor. I'm trying to think. I mean, trying, the connections, or the communication that goes on even within your own head, it can be so scattered. And just really getting to clear that up can it takes it all away. Your everything you do is more, um I mean, intentional, maybe. I mean, you just, everything is so much sharper, which then again affects the stress aspect of your life. If you're able to think clearly, you're able to, there's no reason to stress. Your brain health is optimal, and you're really, you're focusing on your mental health as well as your physical health, and of course they both affect each other. But it was huge for me. It did, like, again, with the insomnia that was causing all kinds of stress, um, and just not knowing what's going on. It just, yeah. Like I said, I can't thank real ketones enough for what they've done for me. Um, and it's, not just my physical health, but absolutely my mental health.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's really, that's the first person narrative through which, the lens through which you get to experience the world. So when something, someone, people, access to knowledge, understanding is able to change that for the positive for you. I mean, there's really, I don't know if there's anything kind of more special than that in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
And I also believe that that's really something that most people can kind of work on more, right? And that's instead of seeing health and how you experience life and states of anxiety and all that as sort of these separate silos. I mean, we really need to start thinking about this stuff holistically. And I know that word doesn't have as much meaning these days, but I mean in kind of an interconnected, constellative type of way, right? So in your case, for example, it's like, and in other people like who might have been suffering from some type of mental health issue, it's like, is there something wrong in my life right now,
Hmm.
genuinely? Or is it maybe a smaller deal than I think, but I have some sort of nutrient imbalance? I'm not getting enough sunlight. I'm not sleeping enough. I live an overscheduled life. I've got a storage of polyunsaturated fatty acids, or the vegetable oils I talked about, stuck in my fat cells, and those are causing anxiety. There's just a lot of trees to bark up. So what I try to like, tell people, whether it's something as simple as anxiety to some sports psychology stuff, is it's like you really need to fix the physical and get your biological baseline up to neutral, as you're introducing some sort of mindfulness installations like meditation and just taking time to sit and be with your emotions, being outside, stuff like that. And then that way you can truly find out, all right, like, was I depressed, or did I just have like hypothyroidism, right? Or
Sure.
you know what I'm saying? So it's almost like you want to make sure that that biological vessel, our body, through which we get to experience the world, is tuned up to a certain degree at least. And then that way you can kind of better look at your life and say, oh, wait a minute. You have a lot more physical clarity to gain emotional clarity around these things. You know, do, do I need to make X change or Y change, or was I really just needing to clean up my health? So I think there's a lot of power in that. And usually there's an element of both going on, but it is important because no matter how much, therapy or mindfulness, mental work that we do, spiritual work that we do, uh, you're always going to have a glass ceiling on how good you can feel if your body isn't healthy to enough to a certain point. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You think, you take care of your car. I mean, that's something so simple. You say the least you can do to yourself, for yourself is give yourself a little oil change and, and, and flush the system and make sure your blinkers working, you gotta keep your body up. It is really kind of incredible once you start eliminating stuff like that, how much really, how I don't want to say how I don't want to diminish anything, but how little or how much you can reduce your stress maybe just
Hmm.
by making sure your body's doing what it's supposed to. So are you and that you're treating it right.
Yeah,
Um
self care really. I mean, that's the first level of self care is
mhm.
your fit. How you eat, how you rest, recover, how you live your life, how you exercise, things like that.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I mean, and going back to a little bit what we were saying before, we have these great minds, and you have people that have experienced it, and really I think that's kind of, that all encompassing, I don't want to say thought process maybe, is where I feel like a lot of places, other resources lack. Um, it's they, you're thrown into this diet, and you're not given any type of support. It's just eat, like you're saying, the macro calculator just spitting out numbers at you, then and not really explaining what much else means. um that could be super damaging for you. So it's really, I mean, we have an app that I've, Matt and I both, you and I both have worked on, and it really just encompasses the whole journey. It's the leading, it's on ramp. It's saying, hey, we know this is hard. We've got your hand. You got us too, right? It's like it'll be, we give you all the support, all the one-on-one you need. um then you have, then that's kind of your phase one. Your phase two, your true weight loss, your you're doing great. You're seeing success. We're cheering you on. You have questions, pauses, stalls, whatever it might be. We're here to help you through it because everybody's bodies are different, right? So we would never just recommend everybody do the same thing. And then coming off really is really, I think, the most important, because people stop these nutrition programs, and the nutrition companies don't care because they know that they'll be back, right? They stop their journey with no ending chapter. It's just all right, well, you've been eating this way with us or practicing this way for X amount of time. So sayonara once you get once you hit your quote unquote goal, right? And that's so against what I personally stand for and what real ketone stands for. And I'm sure you too, Matt, not to speak for you, but the end, and really your journey never ends. Um,
No, no, not at all. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. Is it's not supposed to be a diet that you start and stop. You might rotate things and elements of it in and out and tweak, but it's sort of a path of self-discovery in a way, and you get to kind of continuously keep refining things and learning. I mean, I'm doing that all the time and with myself still, and I've been really doing things like that for, God, I'm trying to think now how long. Like 14 years, 15 years now, and it's like, I'm not saying it's going to take that long to reach your goal. I've been happy with my physical self for a while and whatnot. It's more just like I'm continuously like tweaking new things to like feel better, improve, try this, improve my out there, try this new kind of, I don't know, training style in the gym, exercise patterns, things like that. And it kind of becomes this fun little journey of self-discovery you have for yourself. But usually, as my friend Chris would say, like you usually change out of inspiration or desperation. And, unfortunately, fortunately, it kind of takes people to get to that breaking point for them to embark on a journey such as this. And, I think it's really helpful for people to hear a journey such as yours because, as you said, it literally helped you turn your life around. And so if people want to learn more, right, about, like, let's say they're sort of staring down the barrel of something similar, they need to make a change in their life, they want to know what you and kind of real ketones are all about, um,
mhm.
where can they do that? I know that we've talked about, like, there's the Real 30 program, we just talked about the app. Do you mind
Mhm.
giving everybody at home just sort of like website kind of resources, maybe some social media resources they can try to learn more if they want to try to
Absolutely.
embark on this journey?
Like I said, I'm if they're if it says real ketones, I probably touched it at some point. So it's so you always have, I'm everywhere, but no. But if you the most important place I would say to get started would be the support group on Facebook. So if you have a Facebook, it really is the best place. We have people who have never done a diet, people who are currently dieting, people who are post diet, meaning like they've got it in the bag. They got their routine down forever. Um, we have just such a cool, diverse mix of people
Hmm.
in there, all looking to learn, you know, together and learn from each other and support each other. Um,
Better themselves.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's an awesome resource. For anything, any type of questions you have, it's Real Ketones members that are on there answering. And it's people who have
Yep.
been through this. Either A, have been through this, B, are an expert in the field, or C, both. So it's really a cool place in my opinion. So if you were to, as well, I mean, I would say downloading the app. It's got, I mean, just a surplus of information, recipes, lessons talking about like, hey, why am I doing this? This is why, and how it affects your body if you're into that. Um, it's some great stuff from you in there. I mean, just I love the app. So, but
Okay.
of course,
That's
I love the one-on-one too. So there's messaging on there where you can get on there and direct message. It'll go right to my office. Um, and in the support group, you and I are both in there. So,
Yeah.
um,
What a great resource, honestly. It's not just some companies, oh, it's just supplements, or some companies, oh, it's just this little, PDF program that you pick up or something like that. But like, what a great resource to be able to have, nutritional and training programming. You get, like it sounds like you're going to get some support documents and stuff, and things to help you transition this into a lifestyle, and then also support coaching. So that's awesome.
Mhm.
That's awesome. And I know people can find you at Real Ketones on pretty much any major social media platform.
Oh yeah.
It's been great having you on. I want to be respectful of your time. So is there anything else that you would like to leave everyone at home with? Maybe people who are just, wanting to get going, any, you know, messages of encouragement or anything like that?
No, just that you can do it, and that's really all it is. Just as again, and as goofy as that sounds, you can do it. I was just at such, even though I had a lot of exciting things coming, in front of me, I just made a move and all that stuff. I was in such a bad spot health wise. Didn't value myself, and it's like you owe it to you to try. And we're here, so that's, um, just, and again, maybe keeping it simple is best, but just that you can do it. And, any questions you have, you know, BHB radio, Matt's excellent. So it's, any questions you have, feel free. I mean, we're both around. And we've both been through this, and that's what is just so magical about this space is that everyone's here to help and everyone has been where you're at. So um you know no wrong questions here. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was very well said. And maybe, maybe we could have you on at some point again in the future. And everybody at home, thank you so much for joining us today. As always, it is a pleasure to have you guys tuning in. And I try to help bring you guys the latest and greatest in health, nutrition, performance science. So that way you can hopefully kind of distill that into little actionable things that you can do at home. Thank you guys once again for having us, and I will see you next time. This has been another episode of BHB Radio.